Meet Paula, a 23-year-old woman who's realized early in her 20s that the average standard life wasn't for her. Leaving university studies and her whole life in Germany behind, she took nothing more but her backpack to embark on a one-year-old solo trip around the world that made her see life from a different point of view. After some years of living abroad in several countries, she now follows her ikigai, putting her heart and soul into building her own health and wellness business. Join her on this empowering journey as she crafts a meaningful existence that inspires others to break free and live life on their own terms and purpose. So welcome to this episode of Resilient Voices, and with me today I have Paula. So I want to say welcome so much, Paula, to today's episode.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm really happy to be here, and yeah, I'm excited for this podcast episode.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So why don't we just start off with just tell a bit about your story and why you're sitting here in the studio with me today.
Yeah, actually, it's a funny story because also that we met was quite like, I wouldn't say even a coincidence. I think there was always a reason that things happen. And one thing that I wanted to share right at the beginning of this podcast is that I definitely have visualized myself in a podcast for this year. So it's been part of my visualization, because I do like visualization boards for every year, and it's been part of it. So I just wanted to tell you now.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So I'm happy I could help you with that visualization coming true.
Yeah, I'm excited. And yeah, my story, how I even ended up here in Ericeira, is basically that I was... Well, it's a long story, but I would say like 4 years ago, I was about to, in my university studies, I would have become a primary school teacher. So I was a little bit overwhelmed with that whole situation back then. It was COVID, it was winter season. And I also kind of did try to see myself, visualize myself in the next year, in the next years, and go on. And then I ended up and seeing myself in a place that I really didn't want to end in. And it was like, oh my God, like this is going a bit too far. Maybe I'm going to end as a person that I never really wanted to, because society kind of was also like, I really wanted to swim with everybody else into the same direction. So it was just a lot of unhappiness that I realized, and that COVID situation was like the cherry on top of it. And that's why I just decided to, well, actually it was a really bad winter day. It was raining outside. It's supposed to be, snow, but like Germany has some very,
So what part of Germany are you from?
I'm from like the center of Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, right in the middle. It's not really popular. So like where I'm from, it's not really something big. However, it was a really bad day, and I was feeling a lot of like winter depression as well. Things happen. And I just sat down and I was like, this can't go any further. And I was so sad. And on this day, I still remember I had a melon. And it's a funny story because now you're wondering, why is she talking about a melon? But every time when I'm telling people this story, how I actually ended up traveling, is that I had a melon this day. And when I cut it, because I just love it so much, I'm vegan, so people know how much I love fruit and vegetables. This melon had a sticker on it, and the sticker said Costa Rica. And I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go where the melons are. And that's how I actually got into my idea of starting a journey, starting to travel. And back then I wasn't even sure if it's going to be a long journey, if it's going to be a whole year, if it's going to be more, if it's going to be just a month. But I knew that was my point to break out. And so, I would say this was the beginning.
That was the beginning. It was thanks
melon.
to the melon.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's a funny sort of twist to it, because there's always some sort of trigger And in this case, then it was winter, it was cold, it was raining. Oh, no, it wasn't even that cold. It was raining.
It was raining, yeah. It's supposed to be snowy.
Yeah,
It's
and
raining.
then you're eating a melon from Costa Rica. So how many years ago was this?
This was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
So right in COVID times. Yeah.
Okay. So then what happened? Did you what led up to that you acted on that melon situation?
Yeah, so it happened that I first of all discovered a bit more on the internet and did my research, and I was not even sure what I even wanted there, but I just knew I want to do this first step. And I got myself some, travel people. So I did a lot of research and then ended up finding a job, finding people to go with me to go my first step. And then a couple of months later, I sat on the beach in Costa Rica working in a surf camp. And that was my first kind of like breakthrough moment. And yeah, leaving Germany behind at that moment. Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you.
What an amazing story.
Yeah, and back then I can also say I wasn't even aware how long this whole journey is gonna be like. So it was just like I just wanted to continue and just follow my heart, and it really worked out this way. At first I was really, like in my mind and trying to make the best choices just with my mind, but later I really felt like the longer I traveled, and I can maybe share that I ended up traveling 1 year backpacking in total, but then also on top of that now since like 2.5, 3 years, I'm just like traveling, sometimes going back home to Germany, but then like still living in countries abroad due to my lifestyle, which is super awesome. And I just discovered that this is my lifestyle. This is what I love. And I love continue doing this. Yeah.
That's great. That was really brave at that time, I think, doing that so early on.
Yeah.
And you had you were actually doing your studies already and had a plan for your...
Well, I discovered that the plan I was thinking was my plan wasn't my plan, actually. It was more like society's plan, or it was more like part of the system. And I just realized I don't really want to be that person waiting for the next weekend, the next break-free moment. And I just realized, okay, if I don't take a cut here, I might never gonna make it out again, and I'd just be in that wheel. And back then also the COVID situation was really like clear how it's gonna end up, And I just took a leap of faith, and then I just went. And I was back then 20, I think.
20, yeah.
I've been always traveling before. Like I was always kind of like curious. I always wanted to know what's outside there. So I had a lot of courage, actually, what I have to say, realizing this, and a lot of people keep saying that I can be really proud what I did. But I have to realize and say that to myself too, because I sometimes forget about that, and especially about my age, which is a really big, topic always, because people usually get to live a lifestyle in their older, maybe end 20s, beginning 30s, and then so on. But I, quite early knew a little bit what I wanted then. Yeah. And also traveling made me realize what I actually want. Traveling made me to the person that I am today, sitting here today, was exactly because that melon day, that day where I just decided to, go into a different direction and then just see what comes. Yeah.
So what did you have support from your parents at that stage, or was they how was their reaction?
Yeah, so my parents actually didn't really know so much at first that I would really do it for such a long time. I would say like actually no one did think about that. Maybe even not myself, because I was back then more like a shy girl. I was not really like, I was not really believing in myself sometimes. But then I had that little voice. The more I traveled and the more countries I went to, like after Costa Rica, it's been Nicaragua and some other small countries in Central America. It's been Mexico. It's been Hawaii. It's been so many. I went to Southeast Asia. And then the more I traveled and the more countries I got to see and got to live in, the more I also discovered what it actually is me. Like, because I really felt also my core values were kind of like popping out of that situation. So I really realized when it comes back to my core, what are my core values? And the core values always traveled with me. So I always felt like every decision I made was based kind of on my core values, because that's who I am at the end of the day. And I would say, like looking back now, this is actually gives me goosebumps because I learned so much, and I can just recommend solo traveling, especially from the heart, like so deep for every woman, because every woman will explore herself in such a different way as just being herself and leaving behind the society from maybe the home country, because I got the chance to be a new person. You have to introduce yourself so many times, and gosh, how I hated that at first. But now I'm actually enjoying telling people my story, and you can. Of course, I'm not inventing a story, but still, I'm feeling like it's a nice feeling to share story with the people.
Yeah. That is so nice, because what I hear you say as well is that you traveled on a journey. You went on a trip, but it was more, as much as it was a journey from country to country, traveling the world. It was an inner journey where you also connected with yourself and who you truly are.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really much more what I am about, what I really want, and traveling taught me so many lessons. I had a lot of obstacles too, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, because that's really, and that's why we're here as well, talking about. I mean, you took the leap. You actually did book that ticket to Costa Rica. If we start there, did you have any? Was there obstacles and fears at that stage, or was it just how?
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I was shaking, shivering, booking my flight ticket. And even though I was traveling before already, did some smaller solo trips, this would have, I think it was the first time that I was really doing a bigger steps into the unknown, kind of. And I would definitely say, looking back now, I had so many doubts. I had so much fear. But I also tried to kind of like go into that worst case scenario, and a worst case scenario would have been, okay, I'm just going to book the next flight back home, and then go back. You can always go back. There's always a way. And so I thought, like, okay, now why not try? And I also loved that trial and error process of seeing how far I can push myself, because sometimes I felt like I wasn't aware how much how much power I have out of my comfort zone, and that I really had to push through, because it was like the jump into the water, booking that flight ticket. It was cold plunge. But then I was there, and I had my times where I really cried, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is this all about? But then I pushed through. I really pushed through, and there was no other way. So it was all about that.
So you despite the fear, and that's what you said, that you were courageous, that you feel proud of yourself for actually pushing through, and you had some bad days and bad moments and doubts.
Oh gosh, yes. I had a lot of also bad moments. I would say it was more in the beginning. Also, I had a very bad disease. I had dengue fever in my first couple of months. And it was such a low point that I really thought I would never ever see my family again.
Oh my God.
And saying this now is, it's like,
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah.
I'm sorry still for my mom, for my whole family, for my everybody who loves me, for going through that with me and not being able to help me, because dengue fever is really like, everybody who had it before knows how bad it can be and how nothing you can actually do against it so much. Like, and so it was a really, really dark time during my travels. I would say it was the darkest. The rest was nice. Like, the rest was really just like...
Was this in Costa Rica, or where did you...
I think it was in Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, yeah. And I was also traveling just by myself, so I didn't know people. I had a new job, and right at that first day that I was actually supposed to work, I was like, I can't. I have no idea what happens to me. My body was sore. I had like pain everywhere. Like, all the symptoms of dengue is just like terrible. And the whole story, it would probably like smash the frame of the podcast now. But it was really like, terrible times.
So how long were you sick for?
I think it took almost 3 weeks to get really properly healed. And I wasn't able to move no more. I wasn't able to eat no more. I then also had to, Nicaragua also works a little bit different in healthcare system. They don't speak English, so I had to speak Spanish with them, which was even worse. And like, all this stuff that happened there. Also, like, I got to live with a doctor later. I ended up staying at the doctor's house because the hospital wasn't really taking me, but my case was really bad, so I ended up staying with him. Then later on, he kind of like fell in love with me. So it's like, so I had to leave this place, and I told him, I'm fine. And I took my backpack and I just went. So it's a whole like, such a turbulent story, actually.
What a drama.
Yeah,
it's like a soap opera.
It has been really a drama, yeah. But you know what? Everybody thought afterwards, when I was healed, everybody thought I would come back home. But actually, that was the plot twist for me to go even further and to even like keep pushing and keep going, because I really wanted to do this. And I was like, if I can handle this case, I'm able to handle whatever comes next. So it gave me a lot of confidence. And and like, literally every time when I have a hard time in my life, I'm thinking back to that day and how low I felt, and I felt like the world would end for me, Yeah. Then I'm like, no, I handled that. I can do it.
And you can do anything. And this is, that's really talking about resilience. That is where you build that resilience, where you build that strength. When you're in that darkest moment in your life, when you, like you say, you thought you were never going to see your family again, that you were going to die, basically, because that's what you're saying. And am I right?
You are correctly. Yeah, exactly.
And that gives you some perspectives when you've come through that. And then you know that, I can do anything.
Right? Exactly. It gives you confidence in that now that I can talk about it. Yeah.
But if you look back, would you say, because what you're describing for me is you've got mental toughness, a mental resilience, that you're strong, like strong-headed or whatever. Is that something that you cultivated, or did you always have that? When you set your mind to some things, do you follow through, or?
Actually, it also gives me trust in life. I created or generated a feeling inside of me that I can trust in life, and it is just such a powerful feeling. And I would say, I carry it with me throughout my day. So somewhere there's a voice inside of me, no matter what. There's always like the voice is saying, it's going to be all right. Like, it feels bad now, but life goes and happens in waves and phases. So I might feel here right now, but soon there's going to be this again. And it is that roller coaster that we luckily get to enjoy, because like, how boring would it be without it? Like, straight life. I couldn't imagine. So,
because that's how you've really, there's a Swedish cartoon or like a children's book. They say that if it's Saturday every day of the week, because there's a little boy that he wants to have because in Sweden in those days, in the old days, when I was a little girl, you only had like candy lollies on a Saturday. So, and he always wanted that. And his dad always said, but if it was Saturday every day, you wouldn't enjoy it so much. And I think that really is the case, isn't it? That if everything was just shiny, glossy, and just beautiful every day, you would not enjoy it and appreciate it so much.
Yeah, that's so right. It's not everyday lolly day.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
We need those difficult moments and the grey days as well in order to really. And I think that could also be quite restful. Maybe not having dengue fever, but actually being in a like a darker place. It could also be a bit restful in a way. Can you relate to that?
You mean like to just take a pause?
Yeah,
and
take a pause.
Yeah, like the world is still, going, but like for me, my life was paused. And you get down to a lot of thoughts, like not about existence, but well, actually maybe a little bit about existence. So what is this all about? And, why are we even like arguing and worrying about so many things that they don't even matter so much? But when it's about health and like loved ones and life, this is so much bigger than just worrying about if it's lolly day or not or whatever, you know. The little issues we deal.
Yeah. And quite often it's our thoughts that creates the emotions that makes us feel like we're miserable
it's exactly the thoughts, I would say. As we get to think day by day and we're like having the 60K thoughts a day and, we're repeating on repeat a lot of thoughts and they get like stuck in our minds.
Yeah.
So that's why I also like implemented a lot of gratitude into my life. Like it comes back to journaling. So journaling is such a resource, or like my favorite thing to do when it's just about me and just coming back to myself. And I would say, to kind of like reorder my thoughts and declutter a bit, and then also realize what am I actually thinking, and does that even matter? And then if not, sort it out, let it fly away, let it go.
So do you replace that thought with a different thought, or just do you just remove it?
Depending on the thought.
Or it's not really, depending on the thought, of course. But do you have a trick when it comes to that?
Yeah, like neuroplasticity is a thing, so I really try to use the advantages of that. But I would have to say that sometimes it really depends on whatever thought comes up. So I would kind of like write it new, so write your own story new. And I also know that every single thing that I have right now in this moment is based on my own thoughts, which make decisions and these decisions create this is what is around me right now. So I know that it always roots back to the thoughts.
Because the thoughts leads to some sort of emotion that then you will act on that. And that obviously will create a behavior which is that creates then the behavior then creates your life.
Exactly.
So, but you said that you have this inner voice. Just a bit curious about that, because you've got a lot of people say that you have like conflicting voices. That like it's the good person sits on my right shoulder, and the bad person sits on the other shoulder, and it's like you hear this constant like, yes, you can do this, no, you cannot sort of thing. But do you feel like have you? Because you say that now you have this inner voice saying that that you trust yourself, that you've built your own trust in you, and you what you can do and what you can achieve in your life. Do you get that? Is that the dominant voice nowadays, or do you get this little voice that says, Paula, I don't know if you can do this?
Yeah. Well, I can definitely relate to these two guys sitting here and telling me my thoughts and what I actually think, and if I believe in myself or don't believe in myself. And I would also have to say it really depends on where I am, my surrounding a lot. I've realized that due to traveling so much. my surrounding changes my perception of my world. And especially I realized that when after 1 year of just backpacking, you know, just going my own way, feeling like, you know, super brave, super, you know, courageous, and then coming back home to Germany, and I felt like, oh, wow, I changed so much, but the whole world around me felt like in Germany, or like in that place where I grew up, it, you know, it was standing still so much. And going back to that place made me, and also made that voice with that, you know, more like doubts and stuff, made this voice get a little louder again. Whereas before that voice, I switched it. Just this is the voice that is, you know, encouraging me, and the other one was more of the doubts. And definitely, I realized again, okay, my surrounding maybe makes me doubt, and do I actually even fit in? And before that, I was like, you know, dreaming, and like, you know, also like, I did so much. I got to see so much. I, you know, slept in random places. I got to talk to random people, but also like I had to, you know, like my whole mind was just like exploding out of like memories, emotions, experiences, so much. And then, I felt there was doubts coming up again afterwards. But I think that's what a lot of people after traveling experience, because you grow and you change. Definitely, like there's no way you can't. And you change in a different way, because your environment always is what determines you.
Absolutely. So it will change your personality. You become a different person.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the Paula 4 years ago would sit here and talk about that. Like, I am different. Like,
And then it's really hard to go back and fit into that mold again, where you came from when you leave that. So you felt like then when you went back after backpacking for a year, did you go back to stay, or did you go back and check it out, or just to see family? What was your intention then when you went back?
Yeah, so first of all, of course, I surprised people. I didn't tell no one that I would come back home, besides one friend that had to take me off from the airport, you know? That friend knew I would come back home after exactly 1 year, but the rest was just like surprise. So I would literally stand in front of doors and just knock the doorbell or ring. And people were just like amazed that I'm back. I couldn't believe their eyes. My family was like shocked. And I forgot now. I'm like, what is the question?
No, if you had planned to come home to stay, or if it was just to come home to visit, or you didn't know when you, at that stage, when you'd been away for a year, what was going to happen, if you were going to stay or go again.
Yeah, so like right when I came back, I really enjoyed it at first, but then I already had that thought again. Like I want to still keep going, keep having that freedom and the decision freedom as well. And then I just had the lucky chance to re-meet with people that I got to know during my travel. So like lovely people all over the world that invited me, got me to stay with them. And I felt just like, you know, it was another dream. It was just like awesome. And also my lifestyle really allowed me that, because like remote work is, you know, super easy with that. But like I definitely knew I would continue. I would continue this. And also now I have to say, after a couple of years, it gets tiring, of course, to still be traveling and still be like, well, where to go next, where to stay, what to do, to re-meet with people or not, and stuff like that. But I have to say that also traveling feels now super easy to me, but settling is a different thing. So try settling. This is tough too. It's not easy. And also like abroad is, you start completely from scratch. And that's what I'm dealing with now. That's another story.
No, but I think that's a part of the story, because what my question now is really, so how has life changed? And now you're in a different stage of your big change that took place 4 years ago when you had that melon and went to Costa Rica, and but now so I think it's really relevant. So what is the difference now? Because now, like you said, you're tired of the traveling. Now you want to find a place to settle for a while anyway. So tell me about those challenges and what are you facing now?
The challenges here are definitely also a social environment, a social connection, because I'm a very social person. So I really need to go to a country. That's why I worked in most of the countries as well. And not just online, but also in person, because that is what gets you straight into conversations, what connects you with the place. And honestly, I have to say every country that I loved the most was just because of its people and the nice conversations I had. And that was kind of like what really gave me that emotions and, the happy feelings. So, of course, the place on top was super nice too to explore and experience, but it was always the people by the end of the day. So here it is also like the same issue, like first building your social network, which sometimes takes a while because obviously you can't make friends within just like a finger snap. So it is a process, and it also is an internal process, I would say. It's more about the internal than the external, because during traveling, I also realized I asked myself often, like, what is actually home to me? What is my home, And I realized, well, home is this inside of me, like my heart, like I'm my home. I have to be my home, because just a place, just the external circumstances can't give me that feeling of home so much as I can actually give it to myself. And if I'm able to feel home in myself, I'm home everywhere. So it really doesn't matter so much.
That's beautiful.
And I would say I actually have that feeling already a lot. Like I'm so much more like confident. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I like. But obviously also there can sometimes be doubts. Is that really a place for me? Do I really fit in here? And but that's just normal. And also I'm working through this. And as I said, like journaling is a big part. Also during my travels, I would always have that journal with me. Oh my gosh, I have so many journals in my backpack. Like at least 1 kilogram of my backpack was just journals. Like, because I keep them because I love to have a review. And then I would literally just sit down in a ferry, on a ferry, on a bus, on a bus, and would just like, ask myself questions and just check in with myself. What is going on inside of me? What is my voice is saying? What is my internal world like? Where I'm at, and to just see it black on white on paper is so helpful, first of all, and then just write it all out. I used to do also morning pages a lot, just like writing down whatever comes to your mind. And that always gave me so much strength, because it's like you're being your own guide, your own, like the better version of you is telling you how to proceed now, like what to do with this situation, with that life, with that feeling. Mostly it's also about the feelings. So understanding the feelings and emotional intelligence in general gave me so much, it opened my eyes, because I was like, okay, if I have the choice, and you always have the choice in life. You have the choice to decide how you feel right now, how to look at a situation, maybe look at it from the bottom side and see it from a different angle, different perspective. Is there something good about the situation? There's always something. And then I realized, okay, I can really guide myself. I'm with like myself for all my life, so I know best what's best for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And I mean, we spend 24 hours a day with ourselves. We wake up together, we go to sleep together, we spend good times, bad times, and we will do that for the rest of our lives. I mean, there will be no one else in our life that will spend so much time with us as we have to do with ourselves. So, I mean, we have to make ourselves our home, our best friend. So, obviously, and that's really what you're describing, and what better way of actually journaling. I think that's one of the things it's a beautiful way of working with yourself, because then you also have a logbook, so you can go back and say, oh, wow, okay. And it's like, did I write that? My God, I'm so clever. Like, wow, where did that come from? I don't know if you but that's that quite often that comes to me. It's like, wow, who's that person who's written that? And it's like, it's my higher self. It's my better version. Because when you don't have the filters, but you just let it come, whatever comes. It comes from a different place. It comes from I don't know if we talk about, but the inspiration, the divinity within, I mean, our higher self. But then what you say is this even if we have our home with ourselves and that we love our own company, we're all social creatures. Yeah. So we definitely need this social context. And I guessed on a previous episode, Angela, she said that, because she's also relocating here, and she said that it's a bit like this with the finding that social group of people. It's a bit like being a kid again. It's like, do you want to play with me? Sort of thing. And I think that's something that we all go through, when we go to a new place and try to settle down. And because then all of a sudden you want to, when you settle down, I think that is a given that you want to find your community, your people, your places that you go to, your yoga studio, whatever you do. You want to find the familiarity with, or is that what
it
what
is?
You
Exactly, yeah.
Is that what when you're settling down? Is that what you're looking for, or?
It's like you want to find your playmates. It's like, no, it is really like where you can feel like you're belonging. You can express yourself to the fullest. Yeah. You can be that best version of yourself, and you can really, just like live with a full heart and just, be yourself.
Be yourself. So how long have you been working on settling down now then?
Well, it is a couple of months now. So but I would say like I have already tried in several countries, and for me it's definitely it doesn't come down to just one country. No. Like, human beings, we're so versatile, and we have so many parts inside of us, and also as we grow older we change, and now I might like Portugal, and I might still like everything that's in Southeast Asia, so I really fell in love with these countries. But as I maybe grow older, maybe I want to go back to Switzerland, and maybe I want to go whatever, Yeah. So really, like, it matters also about my personality. And also this, like, it's in phases. And I would really not be able to decide just for one country. So I still want to keep it kind of like a bit flexible. Yeah. And also, I have to say, I also love my home country. I love my people there, my friends, my family. It's nothing that I just want to, leave totally behind. And it gives me a good feeling to always be welcome back home. And I have very supportive friends and family. Well, that definitely say it.
So you're expanding your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it also you need to then be in contact and keep up with those relationships and nourish those relationships. I guess your family is a different thing. Your parents, they're always going to be your parents, regardless how much contact you keep with them or not. But your friends that's a different thing.
With friendships it's different. Definitely. My family is really like supportive in that way, especially like my dad. He's always like, you go for it, you can do it, like whenever I have a very bad situation. And there was also like some other moments where I really had like a breakdown, so I would never call my mom. I would always call my dad, because I know he's the one saying like, you can do this, just be yourself. Or like there's always a positive outcome. And that really is my help in need. And my mom, she's definitely much more anxious about me traveling as a solo, blonde, everything that is super European looking. And I really felt that, especially like in some countries that are more, developing countries. I really felt that I had to take more care of what I wore and who I looked and where I went and if I went alone or if I, had people around me. So I really had situations where, I was like, oh, okay, maybe let's take a step back. But yeah, my family was always quite supportive and I always can talk about everything with them. So yeah, and for friendships also, like you also get to see who really cares about you, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like I'm a very, loving person. So I really, for me, it's quite easy to get to know people, to make friends. And I honestly got to know incredible people at the end of the world where you feel like this is your soulmate.
Yeah.
And you meet this person at the end of the world, not back home where you live in the next house, but somewhere in a random place. And then even better is when you re-meet with these people and see them in different settings, or also by accident you re-meet with these people and you're like, wow, I know you from, how come you're here too? Or let's go together to country XYZ. So it is really beautiful it gives you that feeling that you're connected with this world. Like we're all human beings, so we're all kind of like connected, and that was definitely what traveling made me feel like about our world.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. But if you want to give some, because that's the reason for this podcast. I really want to inspire other women or men, but definitely I want to inspire women to take that leap, to make that change. And that's what when we met, that I felt like, wow, I want you to come here and share your story, because it's a very inspiring story, how you, the way you sort of just trusted yourself and just went off on this big journey and discovered yourself and that it was a different life there for you. But if you want to give some sort of advice then to for someone that's listening to your story and feel like, oh yeah, if Paula, she has done that, I can do that too. What do you want to say?
I have so many things coming up for that because I had so many learnings. And first thing first, also because dedicated to your listeners of the podcast, age is literally just a number. I can just say that so many times. Yeah. I'm just 23 now, but I had the chance to kind of like go through so many things already. And I feel like it took me onto a different level also, like, how I think about things. And I can engage engage with people from all ages, and I feel like it doesn't even matter, so I would say also, like, for women who maybe want to start something new, travel in their older or like more mature ages, like I met people in their 50s, 60s and still doing glorious stuff, and like really great people. And it's just like people are shining, people have so many different stories to tell and share, and it's just awesome. Like you're missing out so much maybe if you don't take that leap of faith and just try and just go out there, be who you are, because also like authenticity is such a big thing. And you will make a whole plot twist sometimes. So that's one of the things. So literally, like, you cannot really, age is just a number. And then what else can I say? Trust in yourself. There's no point in talking bad about yourself or also like talking negative to yourself, because as we said, you're the only person that you're with just yourself for your whole life, forever and always in your life. So like, what's the point of making yourself down and making yourself bad? And why not try to there's nothing wrong with telling yourself like, oh, you did well, or you did nice, or you can do it. It always gives you some encouragement in that moment. And I would say the rest just comes so naturally. So once you've taken that first step, and it it is supposed to be also sometimes just baby steps, but still, you know, falling 3 times, getting up 4. So it is all about that. And if you really zoom out and you really see how that, you know, spiral and that whatever like roller coaster went like, it still made you kind of like go upwards somehow. So it's still an upward spiral. Okay, maybe you spiral once down, but you always spiral up, kind of. If you have that mindset, if you know that you really want this. Yeah.
That's beautiful, great advice. So just to summarize then is that, I mean, age is not, it's just a number. So you can, I mean, if you're 23, 55 or 65, it doesn't really matter. You can just move on, listen to that inner voice and listen to that calling, and just, like you said, what's the worst thing, the worst case scenario? I think that was a good thing that you said in the beginning. Yeah, I can always go back home again. So I can always go back. And there is always another scenario you can make for yourself. So make that decision and just act on that. And one thing I think as well, what you really said well was that, I mean, it's a spiral. So if you can choose your thoughts, and you can choose to spiral up. And sometimes you spiral down, but maybe you don't stop there and stay there. And then I think that what you talked about earlier on, what you used a lot is your journaling. That's very helpful, isn't it? To actually to be a bit more removed from your thoughts, and that it's a good guide to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, that journal, I have to say, I have it also with me right now. It's in my bag here, so I always carry it wherever I go. It's really like my tool number 1, I would say. Yeah.
And number 2, then trust yourself, or which is the other tool.
Yeah, trust in yourself. Yeah, definitely.
And know that after bad times, good times will come.
Yeah.
If you're persistent and follow through.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been such a beautiful conversation, and you're such an inspiration. And thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story. So if we have some listeners that want to connect with you, well, can we just drop your details in the podcast, and they can reach out?
Yeah, exactly. We can I'll give them to you, and then we can...
Yeah. We can share them on you probably have like an Instagram account or something like that.
Exactly.
That they can follow you and contact you. So once again, thank you so much, Paula, for joining the podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Super excited to hear what's going to happen next. And for your listeners, for next episode, we're going to listen to another amazing woman. She's a Swedish lady that decided to take her whole family and move to Thailand. So she started a completely new life on an island in Thailand. And she's a professional clown and a fitness instructor, and she's just built her a completely new life in Thailand. So in next episode, you will hear more about her. So until next time, just go out there and be resilient and just follow your inner voice. So thank you.
Thank you.
I encourage you to subscribe to Resilient Voices and follow along on social media, where we'll be sharing updates, resources, and stories from our growing community of resilient women. And if you ever feel inspired or have a story to share, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can also use the hashtag Resilient Voices to connect with other listeners who are on their own journeys of transformation.